Hey guys, Dave and Len here. We just played Belter Mining the Asteroids in 2076 from GDW. It was manufactured in 1979. Why don't you tell them about the game, what it's all about, Len?
It's a science fiction game. It's supposed to take place in the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter. It's supposed to be the final frontier where lawlessness prevails and great fortunes are made mining the gas or the ore from the orbiting asteroids. It's basically you're either a prospector or you control a partnership or a corporation. You first prospect the mentioned gas or asteroids, find out their worth, and then you could start putting in your mines and then taking it to the marketplace and so on and so forth. And that's basically how it goes. The game turn is actually a very simple game.
Yeah, I'll read out the crib notes on the sequence of play. It's initiative phase, cargo loading, movement, combat, cargo offloading, prospecting, market phase, purchase segment, maintenance segment, and labor dispute phase, repair segment, and maintenance die roll. It sounds like it's very complex. It's actually not that complex. Once you learn how to play it, it's pretty easy to follow along. The first few turns I was clueless playing this. This is his game, so he was teaching me how to play. But after the first few turns, it clicked and I was able to play the game.
Yeah, because it didn't take too much work. The problem is sometimes it seems so long because a lot of times you're taking the ore to market. It takes 3 turns to get to market. So next 3 turns, just moving. And you build up slowly. Right.
But one thing is the ore prices change every turn. They usually go up. And the same with the gas prices. And when you actually go to sell the ore, you get a lot of money for it. Because there was times where I turned into ore and I got like 54,000 credits. And you start the game with 2,000. So I think I ended the game with... how many credits was that? I ended the game with 194,096 credits when I started with 2,000. So yeah, you can build up your money quick. One thing though about this game that some people may not like it, especially, I'm a very impatient person. I am the most impatient person you will ever meet in your entire life. So there's some things about this game that were driving me crazy. First of all, I liked the game, but there was a few things that drove me crazy. There's too much minutia you got to keep track of, like maintenance. Maintenance was pretty cheap. It was like 50 credits, and when you have 194,000 credits, it seems like almost a waste of time to bother recording the maintenance costs and the rolling every turn for the market prices on the gas and the ore seem kind of tedious. This game would be a great candidate for someone who likes to write video games or something, to write a video game version or something, you know, inspired by this. I just started writing hex and shit video games, so I was thinking about maybe doing something like this. I don't know if I will. It's just a brainstorm idea I have. But
actually, I'm more surprised someone hasn't done this.
Actually, I have seen a few video games that have some of the features of this in it, but yeah, I mean, this is like Struggle for the Galactic Empire, in that if there was a video game version, it would be so much better because you wouldn't have to keep track of stuff. Like in Struggle for the Galactic Empire, every turn you're having to count all this stuff, and it gets really tedious. So if you had a computer keep track of the minutia for you, it would make the game much more fun.
Well, one problem is we played the solo, and actually I kind of made up the solo game because my presumption is that GDW has lots of friends, and they all play this together, and they're very aggressive because there's a whole big section in the middle about combat. We just played like 25 turns, and at this point, you're just getting to accumulate enough wealth to even think about putting weapons on your ships.
Yeah.
And also, I was thinking one of the problems is that since he had no other competition, he could just take it easy and do a low-cost business. Now, it would have been totally different if he had another competitor who would claim jump on one of his mines and start mining it. And then he'd have to say, like, you know, buy weapons and blah, drive me off. So, because one of the problems with the solo game is the prices just keep creeping up, because once in a while you drop off a few hundred, or, you know, and you just modify the die roll. So instead of going up like 3, 4, it might go up 1 or 2, and so they just have a lot of friends who are very aggressive. Or another thing is they have a big section on combat, but there's no rules about, like, for instance, leasing your mining rights. Have another player mine it for you, and you get 10% of the money. Mm-hmm. Because in the regular game, you start as a prospector, and all you need is to make $1 million to win. If you're a partnership, $2 million. A corporation, $3 million.
Yeah, that would be a long game because like after 25 turns, I had like 200 grand or so. If you were to play like a 3-person game, and if you're playing to like until someone got to 1 million credits, this would take like 4.5 to 6 hours, maybe longer.
This is something like a couple weekends.
Yeah.
Yeah, because one of the things is prospectors at the beginning, really cheap. But the thing is, they slowly gain money because whenever they find something that's pure, they have to do it by hand, and so that takes about 10, 20 turns to get a decent amount in. And then when they buy a factory of workers, that costs a lot for them because they don't have any dedicated personnel.
I thought everything was reasonably priced in this game as far as stuff you're going to buy. Like mines, I think were 10,000, which is pretty reasonable. And the fuel was really reasonable. I mean, I think one fuel costs like 100 credits or something. Your ship typically can take up to 10 fuel. So I mean, to fill it from empty to full would be 1,000 credits, which is very, very reasonable, I thought.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I think it's like, I consider it it's like a Euro game, but it's a little more complex. And it needs a solo game. Someone's going to have to write that out. Like I said, there's too many. GDW has too many friends. So.
Yeah, well, I did read the rule book for this. The rule book was a little confusing, but I figured it out once he showed me how to play. I think if you were to read the rule book for this on your own and try to teach yourself to play it, you'd have to play a few games before, or you probably have to play 2 games before everything completely clicked and you had everything down. So there's a learning curve.
That's what GDW was famous for. And they used to complain that Fresno gamers were poorly edited. Speak for yourself. But
anyhow, overall, I thought the game was good. Did you think it was good overall?
Yeah, I think there are a lot of people that probably enjoy this more. You know, this was like I said, when you wanted something a little less complex, you'd pull this out. Because the game sequence isn't that, but it's like, you know, after a while, it's like, I gotta do this again and again and again. You know, 6 turns to get to the marketplace, and then another 6 turns to get back to your mine, which that point was probably got like over 200 ore factors there and more. So it's like, here we are, just moving the ships. Like I said, if you had competition, maybe you'd look at this game differently.
Yeah, but yeah, overall, it's a decent game. If you see it for a reasonable price, pick it up. Thanks for watching, and have a good evening.